It's just after midnight on March 8, 2014, at Kuala Lumpur International Airport. The air is calm. The weather is clear. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, a state-of-the-art Boeing 777, pushes back from the gate, destined for Beijing. On board are 239 souls, 227 passengers and 12 crew members, settling in for a routine overnight flight. The aircraft is one of the safest in the world. Everything is normal, or so it seems. Less than an hour into the flight, at 1:19 a.m., the co-pilot, Farid Hamid, makes his final radio call to Kuala Lumpur Air Traffic Control. His words are calm, unremarkable. "Good night, Malaysian 370. These would be the last words ever heard from the aircraft. Just 2 minutes later, at 1:21 a.m., something happens. The plane's transponder, the device that broadcasts its identity and altitude, is switched off. On civilian radar screens over the South China Sea, MH370 simply blinks out of existence. This wasn't a technical failure. A transponder doesn't just stop working. It has to be manually disabled. Someone intentionally made the plane invisible. But military radar tells a different story. It continues to track an unidentified object. Instead of flying north to Beijing, the plane makes a sudden, sharp U-turn, heading back across the Malay Peninsula. It flies with purpose, passing near the island of Penang before turning again, this time northwest over the Andaman Sea. It's flying directly away from its destination. Then, at 2:22 a.m., after more than an hour of this ghost flight, it vanishes from military radar as well, heading out into the open ocean. In the cockpit sat 2 men with spotless records. Captain Zaharieh Ahmad Shah, a 53-year-old grandfather, and a highly respected pilot with over 18,000 hours of flight experience. Alongside him was 27-year-old co-pilot Farid Hamid, bright and ambitious, on one of his final training flights for the 777. The deliberate nature of the plane's diversion, the disabling of communications, it all points to an intentional act. Someone in that cockpit, or with access to it, took control. But why? What was their plan? For over 6 hours after disappearing from all radar, MH370 was still alive. It wasn't talking to the ground, but it was talking to space. A satellite owned by the British company Inmarsat received a series of automatic hourly handshakes, or pings from the aircraft. These pings are like a simple pulse, confirming the plane is still powered on. They don't give a precise location, but they do provide crucial clues about distance and direction. When experts analyzed these pings, a horrifying picture emerged. After its final radar contact, MH370 had turned south, flying for hours over the vast, empty expanse of the southern Indian Ocean. Its flight path was steady and deliberate, continuing until the final ping was received at 8:19 a.m. A short time later, another partial ping suggested the plane had finally run out of fuel. The only logical conclusion was that it crashed into one of the most remote and desolate stretches of water on Earth. What followed was the largest and most complex search in aviation history. 26 countries, countless ships, and sophisticated aircraft scoured millions of square kilometers of ocean, first in the South China Sea and then in the Indian Ocean. They found nothing. No debris field, no oil slicks, not a single trace. It was as if a 300-ton jetliner had simply evaporated. The early days of the search were marred by confusion, conflicting information, and a frustrating lack of transparency from authorities. For the families of the 239 people on board, the uncertainty was an unbearable torture, an agonizing limbo that stretched from days into weeks, then months, then years. The underwater search was a monumental undertaking, costing hundreds of millions of dollars. Robotic submarines mapped over 120,000 square kilometers of rugged, uncharted seabed, hoping to find the main wreckage. But the deep ocean held its secrets. The official search was eventually called off, empty-handed. Then, starting in July 2015, the ocean began to give up its dead. Debris, confirmed to be from MH370, started washing ashore on the coastlines of Africa and islands in the Indian Ocean, thousands of kilometers from the search area. A piece of the wing called a flaperon, parts of the cabin interior. These fragments proved the plane had indeed met a violent end in the ocean, but they offered no answers as to why. The official investigation painstakingly ruled out most possibilities. There was no evidence of a catastrophic mechanical failure, a fire, or a sudden loss of cabin pressure that could have incapacitated the pilots. All the evidence, the disabled communications, the deliberate turns, the long, silent flight, pointed to one conclusion: human intervention. The most prominent theory, supported by many investigators, is a chilling one: murder-suicide by the captain. It suggests that Captain Zahari locked his co-pilot out of the cockpit, deliberately depressurized the plane to silently incapacitate everyone on board, and then flew the aircraft on a carefully planned route to oblivion. The goal? To crash the plane in a location so remote it would never be found. Supporting this theory was a disturbing discovery on Zahari's home flight simulator, a saved flight path deep into the southern Indian Ocean, eerily similar to the one MH370 is believed to have flown. Yet, without the black boxes, this can never be definitively proven. The silence is what's most haunting. No distress call, no final message, no explanation. For hours, the plane flew on as a ghost ship, a tomb in the sky, carrying 239 people to their unknown fate. Today, more than a decade later, the disappearance of MH370 remains one of the world's greatest unsolved mysteries. We know where it ended, but not why it went there. The final resting place of the aircraft and the 239 people on board is still a secret held by the vast, deep ocean. It's a tragic story of loss, an enduring mystery, and a terrifying reminder that even in our hyper-connected world, something, and everyone on it, can simply vanish. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the mysteries that shape our world. Stay curious.